Hi, and welcome to Sonic Peak Studio. My name is Jakob, and today we'll be looking into some basic equalization techniques, especially the technique of removing unwanted resonant frequencies of signals, especially in the mids and the upper mids, because those areas can tend to make the instrument or signal sound unpleasant to listen to. And if you have more signals than that in a mix going on, well, you just can't play the mix loud before it just sounds not very nice. We'll be using Alex Ball's song called Foreplay as our example. It features the Korg Monopoly and some very nice classic drum machines, which we will try and equalize and sound as good as we can. Now, before we start, we need to get some terms right regarding equalization and types of those. So we'll just open an equalizer on this right and have a quick look. Great. So here it is. You can use any equalizer. I use this because it's great. It's also dynamic and it's free and it's got a nice interface that I can show you. Great. So, for example, just so that we're talking about the same thing, this is a shelving filter. It boosts or cuts below the cutting point, all right? Good. We could also have a high-pass filter. Someone call it a low-cut filter. Here we go. That's how it looks. This is to filter unwanted rumble from signals. This one is to, if you have a little rumble that you like, but it's just too loud, you can dampen it a bit here. Great. And at the other hand, of course, you can have a shelving filter up there as well. Now, for today's tutorial, the most important filter is type EQ type, is the parametric one, where we get the bell shape, because we can then use this bell to look out for nasty stuff that we don't like, and afterwards we can take it out as we want to. Okay? Great. Now the question is, how do we go about finding these annoying frequencies? Well, first of all, we need to look into some basic rules when we boost with an EQ. Now, if we make the boost too tight with too tight of a curve here, this will in itself introduce unwanted stuff that we don't really care or want to listen to. Basically, it's the filter itself that starts to resonate. You can do this on a synthesizer, some synthesizers, with the resonance on the filter. So if you do like this, the filter itself of the equalizer will start to produce this tone. So we can't start poking around for frequencies with too tight of a cue. We need to broaden it out a bit and then use it like this. Okay, good. Now then let's go down and look at we'll start at the 1K area, 800 Hertz, and then sweep upwards. And again, we will play semi-loud in our headphones to make the frequency stand out, or on your system, play semi-loud, and these frequencies will pop right at you. Starting to get nasty. More nasty. Oh, this one hurts my ears. 4.2K. 4.2K-ish did not sound good on my headphones here. So another rule is then, if you have a signal, if you have a resonant frequency in a signal at about 4K, it's often sometimes it's often a problem also at 2K, 1K, and so divided by half down, but also on the other way up. So we could probably expect to have a problem around 8.4K if we look down here at the frequency, but not always, but sometimes. Let's have a go. First, we'll take out this one. We just pointed it out, and the best thing and the best way to take it out is to make this cut as narrow as possible. So we'll really try and find the frequency. Okay, we'll cut it first. And then I'll narrow up the filter. And I will test if I can still play it loud in headphones without it hurting my ears. And it seems to work. Now, as I said before, once you've identified a center problematic frequency like we did here at 4.2, 4.3 K, we might expect to find one more double that or half that. So let's go looking for that by enabling another band and going up to 8.4 and see if there's anything there we don't like. Still playing semi-loud, and there's nothing that's really hurting my ears here, so we'll keep that. No problem. Let's go half of that. Not really either. I think it sounds okay. Okay, so we can now conclude that we have found the most problematic frequency of the signal and that we have taken it out by notching it. And I could probably work a bit more and get it to go like this and really pinpoint it. And that will take a little while, but that's the best way to do it. Now, you could also get the help of a frequency spectrum analyzer, which is also in this EQ, but I did not turn it on purpose because I wanted you to show you how to find this by ear. But I'm pretty sure that if I turn this on, you will see some stuff happening here that we found by ear. Right there. And the stuff at 8K I was talking about, that's up here, but it's not so loud, so it's not a problem. And the stuff at 2.2K is not such a problem either. So there you go. Now, the reason why I didn't turn on the spectrum analyzer from the get-go is that it shows a lot of stuff that can be a little hard to discern when you don't know anything about it. And as a newcomer and a beginner and basics mixing, it's easier to find these frequencies by ear than just looking at it. Now, this signal is pretty easy because the problem area that we found is actually the loudest. So that was good. But you can have other signals, rise or hi-hats, stuff like that, that might have some different frequencies down here that are not the loudest, but actually are the most irritating ones when played loud. So you can't always use the spectrum analyzer. What I would urge you to do is use your ears and then correlate with the spectrum analyzer and use those two together. And as you get better using your ears, you also get better using the spectrum analyzer when you look at the signal, and this process will go much faster at the beginning of the mix process. Now, I won't get too far ahead of myself here because in this video we're talking about de-resonating signals and taking out stuff we don't like, but please consider that we've actually taken some of the ring and a bit of the high end out of the signal. And that may be a little bit too much when we mix this back into the rest of the mix. So what we usually do is that if we take out some 4, 5, or 6K in a hi-hat or in a ride or in a snare drum, stuff like that, we take out some high energy, but we add that back by boosting above this takeout that we had. Now, I can do this pretty with good conscience up here because as we heard a little bit earlier, I was boosting up here and couldn't find anything that sounded unpleasant. So I can, with full utility, do like this right off the bat, knowing that it wouldn't destroy anything. Actually, I would just enhance the upper harmonics up here, right? Even in the mix, this wouldn't be completely unheard of. So consider that this had been a bass or some kind of instrument with deep frequencies. Let's say that it had a problem area between 2 and 300K down, 3 and 500 hertz down here. That would be probably be the bottom of the instrument. Let's say that I thought that it sounded boxy, then I would take that out, right? But then it would suddenly lack some low end. What I would do is I would boost below it to compensate. Same as I would do here. Is I take out some high end and then I compensate by boosting the higher end, so to say. Now, The reasons why you would have to remove these unwanted frequencies from a signal, of course, becomes more and more apparent the more tracks you have. Because if you had a lot of tracks that had really unwanted and nasty frequencies in this area, you would end up with a mix that would almost be unbearable to listen to loud, basically, and it would become impossible to mix. Now, another reason why to remove this is that let's consider that I wanted to put compression on this right symbol here. Now, compression and limiting introduces distortion and harmonics, and usually in this area from 2K and upwards. So if you had troubles up here, you would just make them worse by putting on a compressor. So when people ask me, EQ first or compression first, I say it's complicated. What I mean is that we need to do subtractive EQing first to remove the signals that the frequencies that we don't want in the signal. If we don't want them in the signal, we don't want the the compressor to react to those as well. We want them out. Now, so we take those out first by doing these notches wherever they are. Then we send the signal off to a compressor that can then react to it and shape the signal like we want it. Now, and then if it needs high end, as we discussed earlier, because we took this out, we would put the additive EQ in behind the compressor. So we would have the compressor here in the signal chain. Why is that? Well, I don't want the compressor to compress the signal up here because I want that, So, and I want this out before the compressor reacts to it. So, EQ compression first. Well, subtractive equalization first with these notches that remove unwanted resonant frequencies, then compression, and then additive equalization. And if you don't do that, your fader movements will all take these unwanted frequencies into account, and everything becomes much, much harder to mix because you will have this, you will have a lot of signals with problems in this area that makes the whole mix pokey and unpleasant to listen to. And if you don't clean up the low end of some of the other instruments, it will sound cloudy. And those also needs to be taken out before they're sent off to compressors and limiters and choruses and stuff like that, whatever we do from other signals. So it is very important that we take out the stuff that we don't need and that we don't want, and don't send it off to compressors and limiters and choruses without these frequencies have been taken out. I mean, let's consider another signal. Let's take this cowbell here, for example, and let's play this. Here we go. Let's bring it up. And we're going to play semi-loud. We're going to bring in the EQ. Like this. I'm going to bring up the volume a bit more. Now again, play semi-loud. Concentrate on one band. Semi-narrow. And then we're just going to listen. First, I'm just going to sweep really fast to see if there's anything that... This does not sound good. Ooh, this really rings badly. So we have about 770 hertz here. I'm just going to mark this. Just make it a little bit narrower. Then I'm going to enable another band and say, well, that was 700, so perhaps there's something at 1400. Gonna go up there. Not really. Maybe 28. Yeah, that's not too good here. That's really pokey and unpleasant as well. So I would take this one out as well. So let's... Oh, sorry, my bad. I'm going to take this one out as well. I'm just going to mark it. Maybe there's another one. We don't know. Again, let's guess. Okay, could be around 6K. Oh, signal ran out. there something up here? No, not really. So then we ran blind. We can take this one, make them a bit narrower, and let's have a look at the spectrum analyzer. I can actually find that one is right there. And we were close, but it's not there. It's a bit lower actually. Here, and then let's narrow it. And now we can really bring this cowbell up in the mix without it hurting our ears. So, and let's turn it down and stop it. So, this is the same process on another signal, done a little bit quicker. And with a bit of training, it is not that hard to do, even though you have to do it a lot of times. It takes a lot of time at the beginning of a mix, but it makes the mixing process after this so much easier. I'd like to point out when equalizing this cowbell that we just did was that we actually took out some of its fundamental frequency. The lowest note was the highest energy in it. Normally, it's not such a fantastic idea to take out the fundamental frequency of an instrument, but in this case, I found it to be unpleasant to listen to. Hence, I'll take it out. Hence, I won't follow the rule. I'll just take it out. Now, some of the body of the signal will then disappear, I know, but as we talked about earlier, what I would do is then I would boost below it like this to compensate a bit for the stuff that we've taken out here. I would probably go a little bit crazy if I really were to gain something back from this. So, taking out the fundamental frequency of a instrument is debatable. In some instances, like this, it's a good idea. In other instances, it's a bad idea. I mean, if it doesn't sound unpleasant, why would you want to remove it? Then you keep it in. But if you have fundamental frequencies very low in an instrument that does sound pokey or boxy or unpleasant when played loud, then by all means take it out. And then again, as we discussed, we can boost below. Or if it was some of the higher ones, we could boost above. So that's basically it. Now we looked at the basic ways of removing these unwanted frequencies in the mids and the upper mids that can really make our mix sound harsh and unpleasant. And in the next video, we will be looking at the mud and boxiness area between 100 and 500 hertz. Stay tuned.